2019 has been a busy year for combat jiu-jitsu, having already minted 2 world champions. In the bantamweight division, Richard Alarcon impressed at CJJ Fight Night, earning his way into the May tournament. There, he ripped off 4 straight victories, capturing the bantamweight title. In August, it was Cody Steele that outlasted the field on his way to taking the welterweight throne. Now, on Saturday, November 23rd, the eyes of the grappling world will focus on Cinemex Nave Lewis in Monterrey, Mexico, as 16 grapplers collide once again, this time with the CJJ middleweight world title hanging in the balance. Among the competitors is EBI CJJ finalist Matt Secor.
Secor is able to get a submission in this bottom half of the overtime. The match will be over.
Yeah, Matt's doing the smart thing. He's just hanging on.
So background of my martial arts, I wrestled pretty much my whole life. I went in the military at 17 years old, got out of the military and found Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I haven't stopped 11 years later. I think there's levels to this kind of stuff. And I think dedication and hard work are 2 of the main focus things that need to happen. You need to understand that you need to dedicate and sacrifice certain things in your life to become great. It's very easy to become good at something. It's very hard to become great at it. But with dedication, sacrifice, and the right people around you, nothing is impossible. What hooked me in jiu-jitsu was the evolution of it. It doesn't stop evolving. It's like a living organism. It's just, everything's different. There's stages of it, the conceptual views of it. It's a beautiful art. And on top of it, you get to, learn self-defense and help people. I have all my training partners in jiu-jitsu and wrestling, and they all help me and get me ready for tournaments like this. And I think more of this isn't physical. I think more of it's mental. Understanding who you are, understanding what you're capable of, understanding what you can do in life. Nothing's impossible if you figure it out. And I think that's my mentality, is figuring it out. Once you hit a roadblock, you figure it out. So, we made it to the finals last time, made one mistake and got caught, and this time we're taking that gold home. Performance-wise, I wasn't able to get a good camp in. This time I am. And performance-wise, I think I did very well. I think I had a very good game plan. I just made one mistake. Conceptual jiu-jitsu. We have a game plan we do our research on everyone that competes. And we try to take away some things that they're good at and do things that we're good at.
Now Secor on the back of Dan Martinez.
Matt's under the neck. He's got it. He's got it.
There's the tap.
Wow.
Matt Secor on his way to the finals.
I was already 50 plus minutes the last one, so we all know I can do that. So I think the most important thing is being prepared. Being prepared for what you're ready for. What it is, so many different styles you have to go against. You got guys that are perfected MMA that are in there. You got guys that are sport jiu-jitsu guys that are in there. You have to be malleable with your training and malleable with your mentality to understand what game plan to implement. Losing's a part of the game. If you can't handle losing, then you're in the wrong sport. You're in the wrong anything. Losing's a part of life. So I think a lot of it is for the ups. It's put positive people in my life. It's helped me change people's lives. It's changed my life. So jiu-jitsu actually saved my life. I'm not a medal shower. All the medals I ever got are collecting dust on the ground somewhere. I do this because of the love of the sport. I do it because of the love of competition.
I think I trained more so like it were an MMA fight. I expected more strikes, or that the strikes would matter more, but it really didn't make that much of a difference, except when you were on your back and you had to get up. I had a match where I was on my back for quite a while, and different strategies to make sure that doesn't happen again. MMA dudes want to be on top and just rain them down, and Jiu-Jitsu guys are trying to play a guard while defending. So it's difficult, things like shin on shin change, inverting when you can, hit somebody, trying to get up, or using both hands to push somebody away when you can actually take a strike. So a couple things changed. That was one of the things that I learned for sure. And I knew going in, but I hadn't experienced yet, because I had fought MMA but many years ago. So it was cool to get back to it, and definitely more ready this time. When I watched the EBI after, I was like, man, I got hit really hard. I don't remember that, man, I got hit 2-3 times in a row. I don't remember that. So I have an idea in mind of what I want to do, a transition, a setup that I'm looking for. So the smacks and the strikes were kind of, a minor speed bump on the way there. But ultimately, I was looking to engage my attack, and the strikes just had to eat them.
Yeah, this is a great style matchup.
You soften them up enough, all of a sudden those techniques and those instincts get dulled, and now they're reacting like a blue belt, or maybe giving up position like they normally wouldn't. But the fact that those strikes are coming in and changing the way they move, the way with jumping triangle, good attempt by Dan. We know he loves those triangles, and he was trying to get that started early.
I knew he was going to be more looking for the strikes. Opted to play the guard, and I really had one wrist control and make sure he really could, because his previous match he rained down almost a couple forearms on his opponents. So I knew I had to get on top. And I hit a couple smacks, and it was good. But once I was able to get on top, I was able to pass and mount and really control the back position. So that I felt like, even though he was very skilled at not getting submitted. I could see that he had years of mat time, but overall transitioning, I felt much more technical in the jiu-jitsu game. I had the semifinal match. Very common strategy in MMA. My opponent sat really heavy and opted to strike, and ultimately we went to overtime where I wasn't able to win. But whether people disagreed with it or not, I knew that's a common strategy. It happens a lot. It's going to happen again, maybe in this one, maybe in the next one. So it was more on my fault for allowing it to happen. But that's one of those things I sharpened. Early on, I started competing when I was 17. So at the time, I was tall, and a lot of times I didn't have a team match, so I jumped in with the adults. And there were times where, I was dead exhausted, or I couldn't keep up with the cardio, and I'm thinking about tapping. A couple times I did early on, or maybe that choke wasn't as tight as I thought it was, or maybe I didn't frame and push enough for that one guard pass enough. And then later on, like I said earlier, you sit on that, and it's like, why didn't I push harder? Why didn't I do, I shouldn't have mentally given up in that transition. So those things, knowing that I can go a lot further than I really thought I could. Not underestimating any opponent or anybody coming onto the mat, and respecting the actual art itself. Training like you would for every match, and not thinking, oh, this is just one match, oh, this is a bracket, I gotta train harder for that. I might have 4 here, it's just one match here. But respect for the overall preparation of every match, I actually crack a joke. I always say there's like pro training me, where I'm trying to go hard. Then there's like drilling. Then there's like open mat me, where I'm giving up arm bars. So I work a lot of defense, depending on who I'm training for. I'm always giving up arm bars and practicing my hitchhike, giving up my bag, practicing techniques like that. Ultimately, if you're trying to win every round, you won't get put in bad positions as much as you would. So it's tough to escape those in the competition when you are put in those, if you're not familiar with them. So there's a lot of drilling, a lot of escapes, a lot of defenses, a lot of offense, but figuring that out as I was training was really big. Early on, I was just trying to win the round until I was really tired, and I wasn't really sharpening too much techniques. Saw fighting, and I thought I saw my first arm bar on The Ultimate Fighter, and I was like, I gotta learn that. I YouTubed it. I thought that was awesome. And then there was an MMA store up the street from my house, and they told me about the local gym. At that time, one of my teammates, Matt Arroyo, was on season 6 of The Ultimate Fighter. and I just kind of started training from there. So I wanted to be a fighter first. I fought a lot, but even as a fighter, my goal was like, I want to submit the person. I didn't know jiu-jitsu was its own sport until a little bit in. I mean, without a doubt, respect, you know, for everybody. But really, self-belief for sure. I realized, you know, how persistent I can be, because obviously we've all lost before. You know, I didn't win the EBI, and that was pretty, you know, that sucked mentally. But you know, getting right back to it and just never really giving up, and just keep coming forward with training and picking up the next match and picking up the next tournament. And when you do that, opportunities like this keep coming up because you're always active and you're always training. So my goal was always really to just never slow down. You know, regardless of how many roadblocks I hit, you know, you have a good showing, a bad showing, and then you got to sit on your bad showing. You know, and then you're as good as your last match. So you really want to get out there and compete again until you can kind of erase that memory. So ultimately, I'm getting better off of every single one. And I was never really an athlete growing up. I don't do any other sports, you know. So me competing, when I first started competing 10 years ago, it was like really nerve-wracking. You know, like I hadn't done anything like that, and I'm not like an angry person or anything like that. So coming out into a combat sport was a little different for me. So I got used to it, and now, you know, it's just a sport. Ultimately, at first you think, especially people that see combat jiu-jitsu first, you know, they're like, man, that's barbaric. They're just slapping each other. But in reality, it's just normal jiu-jitsu.
Originally, this was my spot, you know, because I did combat jiu-jitsu last year. But I had a prior match, a different obligation. So when Eddie asked me, I told him I had to respectfully decline, just because I already signed a contract. They already got my booking, hotel, and stuff like that. But then when that guy backed out, you know, I just hit up Eddie right away, like, is the opportunity still there? You know, I would be honored to represent my team if it's still possible. But since I declined it the first time, he already basically set up this tournament. It's only fair that he keeps his word and keeps doing this tournament. So he said, you know, you could do an alternate match, or you could try to get your spot back. So when I said I wanted to get my spot back, he told me that the trials was tomorrow, which is today. So I've been bulking up from my previous match. So I was about 15 pounds, 14 pounds overweight of my 185. I was like 198, 199. So I, you know, obviously this is 185, so I ended up doing 14 pounds in one day to make it today for the qualifiers. And like you said, it's round robin. The matches are intense. You know, I'm cramping up every match. The weigh-ins were, I believe, well, everything started at 11. I got here around 10:50, thinking that the weigh-ins was gonna start out there and then we're gonna get going, but I guess everything was gonna start at 11. So it was just crazy. Hard to get my nutrients back in my body. You know, the first match was really hard. That's probably, I think, why we went to overtime, because it was no time for me to get what I lost all this time, you know? So I don't know, it was really grueling, but you know, the strongest will prevail. I'm not scared of combat jiu-jitsu, because being part of 10 Planet Jiu-Jitsu, period, our foundation is based to work against MMA. So when I get the call, we stay ready. So of course I'm gonna be. That's the game. You're trying to catch your opponent off guard. So when I start getting that, and then plus you get the first strike, you're like, oh yeah, I forgot. This is not just jiu-jitsu. And that's when it starts clicking. But at the end of the day, it's always a fight. Even when we're just playing jiu-jitsu, it's an environment. You know, it's me or him. You know, I can always break something. So there's no difference really combat jiu-jitsu or jiu-jitsu. You just got to be more aware of your positioning. Because we like to say want to be Houdini. Get out of anything, no matter if we're 99% in or if it just initiates. We want to be able to feel comfortable in a deep position, so when it happens, it's normal. I love competition, man. The best of the world, you know, and obviously people are scared, like, how does jiu-jitsu work in a real life situation? Well, how else better to see when you're getting slapped and stuff and you gotta worry about strikes? So I just feel like when I get the opportunity to show how my jiu-jitsu works in a real life situation, I like to prove it, you know? So I feel like I did well the last time with my jiu-jitsu, and I love how to see how my inversion game gets implemented. Because when you go upside down, your face is kind of vulnerable. So it really makes me focus on my timing, my grips, you know. Everything has to be more tight, more precise. And of course, things are a little bit different. I got to work on better my entries, baiting a little bit more. Very first round, kind of need myself in the face. Just my style is really bendy, really flexy. And sometimes when you're almost, if you're a kid, do a backflip, sometimes you need yourself. Same kind of concept. When you're rolling forward, really tucking, sometimes that happens. So that really made it really hard for me to breathe. because I couldn't really breathe out of my nose, you know? So my cardio, I just really want to really improve my cardio so I could prepare for a situation. If that happens, I have extra cardio or more gas tank, if you will. If you see something working and you're just like, that doesn't work, you know, I don't want to look at it, I don't want to pay attention to that, you're never going to get better. So it doesn't surprise me when you see MMA, you see Tony Ferg, you know, doing rubber guard with elbows and stuff like that. You see Jeremiah, you see all these other people being really successful with their jiu-jitsu and it's going worldwide. It doesn't surprise me that people are going to try to do their data, try to figure out what's going on. For one, they want to learn how to do it, and then also they want to learn how to stop it. You know, if you're not doing your research, even if you don't want to do it, you got to learn how to stop it or you're going to keep getting caught in it. So it doesn't surprise me that everybody wants to start, you know, doing videos, doing their research, buying, you know, going on the website and everything. It doesn't surprise me. It's kind of flattering. Like, I never competed outside the country. You know, I usually go out for a vacation or do seminars out the country, but I never had to go to a different country and actually compete. So I'm just looking forward to feeling the energy of the crowd. So I'm really excited, really honored just to be a part of this international CJJ experience.
You know, it's funny, I remember we watched back on the bus, the documentary, which is really good, The Smashing Machine with Mark Kerr. Yeah. Great documentary, but you know, kind of sad, but just gnarly, and just the whole warrior mentality. I'm like, that's what I gotta do, you know. That guy was a beast as always. I remember watching that, I'm like, I'm going down that avenue. It was always in the back of the mind. The coaches, you know, they knew like I want to end up being in the UFC fighting one day, and I got lucky. I grew up in this time, and college wrestling ended, but I knew. I was doing submission wrestling in basements in San Francisco when I was 18, so been doing it for a while, and right when college ended, fell right into it. And once I got paid, I knew. I think CJJ lands right where I want to right now. You know, it caters for jiu-jitsu guys, but you have the MMA palm striking, which helps, especially my style. The MMA style, you can see it works very well, and I want to do it. It takes me a little while sometimes, but now I'm used to it. I'm ready. It's my second time. Redemption, number 2 is my number, and I think this game suits me well. I think at first I thought Kidder's a grappler more going to MMA, and then as I did it, I'm like, no, I want to turn this around. I could definitely, you know, you don't see that as much, the fighter going towards jiu-jitsu, and that's what I want to do, and so that the MMA style with my newfound techniques works. Caters towards the real fight, because that's what you see in a real fight. So I think it stimulates that, but at the same time it's the real deal because you're punching people with open palms. Again, you have a lot of high-level jiu-jitsu guys, especially the 10th Planet guys. I'm probably going to meet a teammate and then at the time an adversary in the finals. I think the real fight to me happens about 30 minutes before, when I really get in the zone and I feel the jitters. And I'll have it with jiu-jitsu too. But this cool thing about this is that I have it more like MMA. It's like the real deal, you know. There's slaps being thrown and there's a lot on the line. So I have it a little bit before, but everyone's gonna be a real fight. And yeah, I'm going in there, you know, guns blazing. That's, what are you trying to go, anywhere? Well, I'm not going to 10th Planet, but go like, you can find a good jiu-jitsu gym like any corner, bro. Like, yeah. I think jiu-jitsu is the mecca here. Like, really, there's so much gyms in San Diego. Yeah. You got all the 10th Planet, the Autos and Brazilians everywhere. And the enlisted, everyone.
We got to stay focused. We got to stay hungry. If you're not hungry, it's kind of boring to show up to class, you know? If you don't have nothing to train for. Just grab a partner and get some rolls with it.
I'm real blessed to be here in San Diego. The 10th Planet guys have my O-side crew, the Poway crew, the San Diego crew. I'm all real tight with all of them because I've been cross-training them for years, and now I'm part of the team, so it's hard to choose. You know, I have so much good guys to train with. I got Gio, I got Boogeyman, I got Kevin down at Poway. And I have beast training partners, Kyle Chambers, Kyle Bain. The list goes on and on. I mean, Sloan, there's so much guys. PJ Barch, tons of guys to train with. And yeah, and when I think about it, I'm lucky, so I'm eager to get in there again.
Hip into his leg, he wouldn't feel pressure.
I don't want to go into a tournament and beat a bunch of chumps, you know. I want the best guys, and I was thrown, again, I had high-level MMA fights, top-level UFC, and right away I was thrown into the high-level grappling, submission wrestling circuit, and that's what I want. I want it to be gratifying, and I think Eddie sees that. I'm the road warrior, you know. You've seen.
Yeah, we look to it. You look fucking ready to kill, dude. You look ready to kill.
The best me, Jessie, Taylor show up, and the one that's what's that. So I think that's what people like, you know. I have that normal man stuff, and at times I could be godlike. So I just gotta show up. You know, my career is it's like up and down, you know. But I'm going in here to upset some people. It's a lot more fun too than regular jiu-jitsu. You get a slap, so.
You know, like you go in. I had my coach over there, and they're like, oh, you might be able to pass this guy, you know, easy. And there's no easy fight, you know. You get there, you have to perform at your best. You have to be, you know, totally focused, 100% on the fight. And I felt I went too excited to get a submission and end up, you know, giving up some positions. And but thankfully on the overtime I was able to perform a little bit better. I think I was a little bit less tired. Now, in the second match, I was able to get with Kyle. I was able to get better positioning during the fight, but I wasn't able to finish. But then the inverse happened on the overtime, and he ended up catching me on, I think it was a Kimura. And yeah, it's you know, it can go both ways sometimes. Because I'm always looking for the submission. I love fighting these tournaments that is only submission, because then I don't have to worry too much about getting stuck on bottom, making one little mistake and then the person holding me for dear life. And that's, for me, it's the real jiu-jitsu, you know? You don't have to worry about points. You're going for the main goal of jiu-jitsu with submission. And I think that's why I love competing at EBI or any other, like this last weekend was a jiu-jitsu festival or a Fight to Win Pro, because those are only, you know, jiu-jitsu, like no points. You only go for the submission, and that's what I practice for. I like to go for the, you know, go for the back, go for the choke, go for the arm bars, heel hooks, and EBI puts that new dimension, you know, at least for me, you know, like heel hooks and leg locks that you cannot do at IBJJF that I've been practicing for a long time, and I get to go over there and experience and try them out. So it's what I love about it. I had 10 professional fights, and during this time, I focus a lot on the striking. So I think I have a little advantage on the slap department or on the striking department, because, you know, I've never stopped training Muay Thai, and I love Muay Thai, you know, like sometimes too much jiu-jitsu, too much of a good thing is too much. So I go back and forth between Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu, and I still look forward to learn Muay Thai. And it's a good opportunity now too, you know, I cannot close my hands for punching, but use the strikes with the open palms, you know. Yeah, I think once you fought MMA, and it's a totally different adrenaline when you go to an MMA match, because you know you can get knocked out, you know you can get hurt really bad, and so when you go to MMA fight, it's a different mindset. And then you go for jiu-jitsu tournaments, you know that, you know, it's not gonna be the same. It's a little bit easier on the mind, you know, but I think these laps make it a little bit more real for jiu-jitsu. But since I already did MMA, and going for slaps it's not a big change, you know. So I feel really confident. I'm not fearful at all from slaps. Like I said, like on my last combat jiu-jitsu awards, I got into really, really bad positions. I was able to, you know, survive and get out of the positions and still get slapped a lot. I remember my head was hurting a little bit after that. But, you know, it's it's all part of the challenge, you know. It's all part of the excitement of being there and getting slapped and slapping them back and you know, making non-stopping, you know. Like sometimes when you're in jiu-jitsu, you wrestle some positions, you stop, and those positions are positions that you could get hurt in a real fight. So I think it makes it more exciting. I think combat jiu-jitsu is going to grow. Like any, you know, in the beginning, it could be a little hard to put it out there, but as more people start, you know, practicing it and feeling how fun it is, and, you know, and feeling the challenge of going to a tournament with jiu-jitsu with slaps, I think it's going to keep growing. As you can see, EBI rules are being applied in many other tournaments, many other venues are using the EBI rules as their main rule set in their tournaments. So I think combat jiu-jitsu is going to be the next. You know, it's other people will take the same rules and maybe put another name and start, you know, making the sport grow.
To be a better jiu-jitsu fighter, to have great jiu-jitsu, it's important to feel comfortable in all rule sets, all tournaments. I don't just want to be a guy who like shows up and is good at one style, just good in the gi. I want to be well-rounded. I want to be good at jiu-jitsu, period. I did say yes to this. It was an opportunity that presented itself and something I've never done. It's a style, it's a format of jiu-jitsu I've never experienced. And I feel that to accomplish my goals, to be a better jiu-jitsu fighter, to have great jiu-jitsu, it's important to feel comfortable in all rule sets, all tournaments. I think because of the strikes, I think it favors the MMA guys, for sure. I think it favors them, but you know, jiu-jitsu, it's a cool mix. So I think that's why you have such unique matches, is because, you know, the MMA style, like just the top control and ground and pound, I think it's a huge advantage when you practice that style so much. But having great jiu-jitsu is always going to be an advantage in a grappling match. I think it's important to have a guard, but not just good guard retention, but a lot of like a very active, attacking, aggressive guard. You know, I think attacking is just moving forward from the bottom and keeping the guy off balance is the most advantageous way to play guard in the no-gi, specifically to combat jiu-jitsu. I don't know, I mean, but that's what I believe. So once I have this experience, once I'm there, once I fight, then I'll know, like, okay, this is what I learned. This is where I need to improve. This is where I'm strong. But leading up to it, I know that a huge factor of this is like the slaps and navigating through and around them. This is my first no-gi submission only event, tournament. I've done fight to win before, but it was in the gi. I'm training the rule set now. The overtime is what's the most unique part about it, right? Like, it's just the overtime. That's the EBI rules. In the regulation match, you're looking for a submission. There's no points, so you're looking for the submission. But in the overtime, starting on the back or starting with the armbar, that's like, it's really crazy, but it's pretty cool, actually. It's cool, it's cool. It would be cool to be in that position and win the fight. You know, knowing you have good armbar defense, knowing you have just a solid defense on the back. I think it's really unique. For me, when I'm competing, when you're there and you're like in a submission or you're in a position where it may be dangerous, you don't really think about like the danger in the position or, oh, I might get hurt. For me, I think like, I just want to escape. I want to win. So it's special because you want to succeed. You train hard, you devote your life to something, and you want to have good results. That's what I think it is. I think it's silly for a high-level grappler or a world-class grappler to be afraid of any rule set. I think it's important to be good in all rule sets, to just go out and do it. I only train at HQ. You know, this is a spot. I don't feel the need to train at other gyms because I have the best guys here. Or I should say the best guys here are my teammates. So there's no need to go elsewhere. Like Josh trains here. He got third at ADCC. Professor Andre's here. He's ADCC Superfight champ. Kainan, Lucas. So I think those rules, the ADCC rule set is similar to CJJ. So I have the best no-gi guys here. So I'm blessed. I don't need to go anywhere. I just stay at home and keep grinding.
My name is Sloan Climber. I'm a brown belt under Richie Boogeyman Martinez, and I represent the 10th Planet Freaks in Caveman Combat. So I started training jiu-jitsu with my dad in our barn in the backyard when I was 15 years old. Got pretty heavily into boxing, jiu-jitsu, grappling, and started competing. I moved out to San Diego in 2015, met the Boogeyman, and started training under the Freaks, and then the rest was history. I've always loved no-gi. Not that I dislike gi, it just was never really my thing. I always thought no-gi was a lot more practical. I liked MMA. And I liked grappling for fighting. So yeah, I always thought no-gi, 10th Planet was a lot more practical. And so I had my eyes on 10th Planet Freaks when I moved out here in 2015. Didn't know what the hell I was gonna do for a job. I fumbled with jobs my first 6 months out here. Finally started bouncing full time and training full time. Richie really liked me the first day we met, so he didn't make me pay a membership at 10th Planet San Diego. He just told me to mop the mats every night after training, and we clicked our first conversation that we had, and I knew we were gonna be good friends from there on out. So I started training under him. We stayed loyal to one another, and yeah, just never looked back. Once I started, I never stopped. I competed in a lot of local tournaments in San Diego and in LA, and won first place quite a few times, and Richie saw I was doing really well. So he put me on Ultimate Mat Warriors, and then it was actually a couple weeks before Mat Warriors, he gave me a call and asked me if I wanted to do the qualifiers, and of course, I didn't hesitate. I jumped on it, came up here, had a pretty good showing, and now here we are. A couple years ago, back before Eddie even really knew my name, I was making it up here at least once a week pretty consistently, and then just got wrapped up in my job, but now I have a little bit more free time, and so I love coming up and training with him, man. I love his ideas and his concepts and grappling, and feel like I learn a lot every time I come up here, get a lot of good work. He's got a bunch of killers in here on the mats, so it's really important to me. It's worth the 2-hour drive up here and back down to San Diego. So if I can, make this a regular thing, I know it'll be beneficial to me. A funny story about my grappling with strikes. I actually, when I started training jiu-jitsu with my dad back in 2007, we only really did grappling with strikes. I never really just rolled. We always were putting on the MMA gloves when we were punching each other too every time we rolled, me and my dad and my training partner. So that was naturally my base. I naturally always am looking to get on top of people, and it's always position over submission for me. I have a pretty basic style. I don't do anything too fancy or outlandish. I just try to get on top of people and smash them, squish their chest cavities, stop them from breathing, and then smother them or submit them. So I feel that my style is pretty good for this format. I fought MMA twice in Indiana, and I'm 2-0, just amateur record. But yeah, I trained martial arts and boxing, kickboxing on and off since I was 15 years old. So I have a pretty big history of it. Hopped around a lot of different gyms in Indiana before I moved out here, and never really stopped training once I started. 4 years now. Moved out here October 5th of 2015 was the night I left my driveway in Indiana to drive out here. Just took a leap of faith and went for it. But again, I feel that I've always had that natural instinct to want to fight. It's just kind of in my blood. I've always enjoyed it. I think of the fight anytime I'm grappling. I don't really think of it as just like this flowy thing. Maybe sometimes when I'm just in a relaxed role, that's a little different. But in the back of my head, I'm always wondering what would happen if we were striking each other right now. And so I'm always trying to be in a good position to strike and to not be struck. And so, yeah, you're going to see a fight from me. It's going to be good.
My coach was actually invited here, Sonny Luque. They wanted him to be on the show, but he asked me if I want to do it. I'm the main jiu-jitsu guy there, so he asked me if I want to do it. I said, let's do it. Almost got sent back because we didn't have technical permission to come. We made it out here. I had some hard fights. My goal is to finish all my fights with submissions. I was able to do that. I got a guillotine choke, a heel hook, and a rear naked choke in my matches. So it was a good tournament. My game is primarily guard type game. I'm very flexible. I love triangles. I love chokes. And lately I've been playing a lot of leg lock games, so that's been my bread and butter lately. It's very important to use your strikes. I don't feel like you can win only with jiu-jitsu. You got to use a little bit of both, so it's very important. I think I use a good amount of striking. It really helped open up my submissions. I think for this kind of format, it's very important to utilize your strikes as much as you can because it opens up all your submissions. So. Oh man, I'm looking forward to the energy today. Just in a small gym, the energy was real high. Got me real pumped up. I'm really excited to see what the big event brings. 2 amateur MMA fights. Both of them I won by submission. Also triangles. So that's my experience with striking, and I gotta implement it a little bit here today. So I'm very happy with that. Man, one thing I noticed today is how important wrestling is. The top game is very important in order to get to the position you want to get in, so you can be in positions where you can land strikes and avoid strikes and get to better spots to get that submission. So one thing I'm looking to work a lot these next couple of weeks are my wrestling, and of course my submissions, all my submissions from all areas. So wrestling is one of the most important things right now, I feel.
Seems like everyone's wearing mouthpieces now. Very smart.
Got to respect those strikes.
So I did the last one. It's Josh Neer. He did very good. He's very old school, but he's really tough. We had some good exchanges, some slapping on both ends. Eventually he got a submission on me, but it was good. It was good exposure, and actually I was pretty honored to roll with him because he's a veteran and he's competed against some pretty high-level people, and you know, it's always something I can tell the kids someday when I get older. It's a marathon. I think it's you have to go hard, but you have to conserve energy, right? If you go 100% the whole time, you're going to burn out. But you have to know when to go to 100% to see through a move. At the same time, not that, I mean, it's not stalling at all, but you have to know when to conserve your energy. You know, based on the day that I'm training, if it's points-based, then what I'll do is, like if it's IBJJF, what I'll do when I roll 6 rounds, I'll be on the bottom, I'll sweep someone, and I'll literally fall on the bottom again, and then work on sweeping them again. And I'll do that for all 6 rounds. What that does is it exposes me to repetition, so I'm just doing constant sweeps. You know, conversely, I can do top game. And if I want to work on passing, I can pass someone, and then let them regard, and then work on passing them again. The whole point is getting used to repetition, get it that point system. Also, like for EBI, stuff like that, you know, our team will do back takes and trying to escape and then reset. And I begin rolling and hypotheticals and just not much drilling, but just, scenarios, seeing how to deconstruct something or figure out like a move. Train with some of the guys at El Niños. Actually, I like that Gil is, very open with the community, and that's a very nice thing, that we see the bigger picture. And, training here, we exchange information, and it's not just him or Jake Shields, it's a lot of the students too. I think it's fine. It's better than fist. You still can get concussions. You can still injure someone, but I just know fists can cause different types of damage. Palms also cause damage, but maybe it's a lesser of the types of injuries and how you can hurt someone. I'd say it's something out of the norm. A lot of people have done submission-only points tournaments. Judo, wrestling is all takedown. This just adds that, this kind of bridges grappling and MMA. MMA really is grappling with striking, but this, I think, shifts it a little bit where MMA's here, grappling's here, and the combat jiu-jitsu is a little bit in the middle, and it's nice to see that version.
I've been training jiu-jitsu for 13 years. I started in 2006 when I was 12 years old. What actually got me into it was I got into a little fight at a park, and nothing was bad. None of us got hurt, but my dad wanted me to learn some self-defense, so he put me in jiu-jitsu, not just to teach me those lessons, but to also help me with leverage and stuff for football, because I was playing football at the time. So that's what got me into it. I've also trained judo when I was 6 years old for a few years. But ever since I got into it at 12, I've been competing actively all the way up until now. So as far as competition goes, I've done the Pans, Nogi Worlds, and Worlds at Brown Belt this year, and I just got promoted to Black Belt this past July. So I've been training a lot and teaching a lot, actually. I do self-defense programs. I run the Nogi program and fundamentals program here at Kahhuanui Academy. But I've been training very actively, training very hard. We just got done with our ADCC camp a few months ago, helped two of our guys get prepared for that. So I feel pretty sharp actually coming off of that camp, even though I didn't compete. So combat jiu-jitsu interests me because it's super similar to an actual fight. We don't have to get damaged and really punch like MMA or even on a street fight, but it's definitely a good reminder of the possibilities that are out there when there aren't no rules and they're striking everything. It kind of gets back to the original roots of martial arts. So that's why I really like combat jiu-jitsu, and I'm excited to compete in it. So personally, I haven't competed in these rule set myself, but I helped my teammates prepare who have fought EBI and combat jiu-jitsu in the past. This is my first time, so I'm excited, and I've been doing a lot of training from the EBI overtime rules because it's super important in this rule set, and it's definitely an aspect that you can't ignore if you're going to have some success in this sport. So this rule set is really aggressive and it's no gi, but I feel like I can thrive really well in this. I have a lot of confidence in my technique. For this tournament, I've been doing a lot of situational training from the back and the arm bar because of the overtime rules. Involving a lot of the slaps and the palm strikes is a huge factor. I have no experience with this at all, so I've been doing a lot of training with a lot of open hand strikes and slaps just to get me prepared for what I'm gonna feel on the stage. So the tactic is, if you can, get a submission early to save energy. Not to focus on a lot of points and sweeps and all that stuff that you would in an IBJJF match, but just to focus on, for me, it's a lot of heel hooks and being able to defend that. It's a reminder of what true martial arts is when there's striking involved and there's no rules. I also enjoy that there aren't actual punches being thrown at my face, so it's gonna be exciting. I can't wait to start slapping people myself. I mean, with any sport, you're gonna have ups and downs. Usually the downs are injuries, and if you're an active competitor, you're gonna have to deal with those things, those little injuries, those little owies that you deal with day in and day out. But I definitely experience a lot of the ups with jiu-jitsu, not just with being able to know good martial arts to defend yourself on the street, but just the whole camaraderie with the students and my teammates, coming to the gym every day and training. This is just, I love to do this.
Justin Renick. I'm a brown belt fighting out of John's Gym Temple, Travis Moore, BJJ. It's been a really good year so far. I got married to my beautiful wife, Jennifer, in April, and I've competed a bunch of places. I've done Third Coast Grappling a couple times. I went up to Chicago to compete for Midwest Finishers. I won my Fight to Win Pro debut, and I also won the Submission FC 175-pound title in the summer. So yeah, I'm just really excited to be on Combat Jiu-Jitsu Worlds and show everyone why I'm here. My first passion was mixed martial arts. I really wanted to fight, and I started when I was 14 years old, so I was still really young. And at the gym that I started training at, there was just a bunch of big, grown pro fighters. So I was just getting my butt whooped every day. And it actually is good, long term. When you're in the moment, you're getting your butt whooped every day, and you're like, man, I suck. But those days back then really made me super tough and really like the competitor, what I am now. What I really love about combat jiu-jitsu is that with the use of open hand palm strikes, you can really use that to open up your opponent. And also, if your opponent gets overzealous trying to strike on you, they also leave openings. So yeah, I'm super excited to see what happens out there. I'm actually a pretty big fan of the EBI overtime rule set. I think when it goes to overtime, there's not a better, more decisive way to pick a winner and a loser from those positions there. And I've also competed in that rule set before. Last year, I won the On Invitational 7 Fight of the Night with a rear naked choke in overtime. Yeah, my wife and I actually flew out to Burbank last year for EBI 17 Middleweights, the Combat Jiu-Jitsu. And we had a great time, and it was a great show, and we both knew with more training, consistency, and just keep doing what I was doing with these pro shows, that it was just only a matter of time, God willing, that I would be on this stage. Yeah, being the first Combat Jiu-Jitsu middleweight champion will definitely mean the world to me and my family and my coaches and students and friends. I just cannot wait to make it happen. And I have a really good support system and team, and I'm just ready to go out there and make it happen. I definitely think to get your hand raised not only once, but 4 times in one night, you definitely have to have good cardio. People better be training their cardio really hard, because I know I am. You can definitely expect to see action from me. I'm not going to be trying to stall just to get to overtime. I'm going to be coming for people, trying to submit them as fast as I can, just so I don't have to be as tired when I'm in the finals.
I've seen some shows, the combat jiu-jitsu before. I actually watched Warner Roach a lot when he won it. I saw some of his tricks. So I'm trying to use it as well when I'm training every day for that. I'm also going to try to use it in the competition. So yes, I watch a lot. My training session is constantly 3 times a day. I do jiu-jitsu in the mornings, I do strength conditioning, I do MMA in the night, so I do another session of jiu-jitsu. I train a lot of jiu-jitsu, gi and no gi. Most of the time, like twice a day. Mentally, it's everything for any competition, anything you do in any sport. You gotta be strong mentally. 99% of things come in the mind first. I've been training Jiu-Jitsu for a long time. But the mixture of Jiu-Jitsu and MMA action is slapping. It's not just Jiu-Jitsu make you, like you want to throw a submission, you got to think about getting hit now. It's like a fight, like an MMA fight. So you really got to think twice what you're going to do. That's really interesting, you know, like the hitting and the preventing Jiu-Jitsu. I feel like it's more like MMA, like bare knuckle MMA, kind of like that. You know, I competed many times with ABI rules, overtime rules. I think I like it, you know what I mean? There's always, I don't like when it's like, sorry, IBA rules. It's a draw and that's it. Yeah, I think you need to have the overtime and decide who's gonna win or not. So I love overtime. I think it's a great idea. You gotta be intelligent to do that. So look for the finish, even a knockout or submission, but look for the finish, by the way. So I'm very excited to use all my weapons, you know, my jiu-jitsu, my judo, my wrestling, my hands. I'm ready to bring it all. I love open hand strikes. You know, I think I'm ready for these, for combat jiu-jitsu. See my hands? Gigantic. Ready to slap some people. Because it's only 16 people in the world that got shoes to do that. And I'm one of them. So I'm really blessed and I'm ready to be the champion. And I had a big heart. I take everything to be the champion. You know what? Because I got this, a big heart and I'm Mexican.
So whether it's combat or sub only or no time limit or points or ADCCs, Naga, whatever, I feel confident. So yeah, I mean, a couple smacks during jiu-jitsu just makes it a little funner.
For this kind of format, it's very important to utilize your strikes as much as you can because it opens up all your submissions. So,
yo, I'm just showing up to fight, man. I'm just there to like fight and put in that work.
Because it's only 16 people in the world that got shoes to do that. And I'm one of them. So I'm really blessed and I'm ready to be the champion.
From the time I was just a little boy, it was just something that was always on my mind. Fighting was always on my mind. And it's something that I just naturally gravitated towards.
I feel like you're gonna see the best version of myself. You know, you've seen what I could do today, and this is 14 pounds down, no food, no drink for 24 hours. So imagine what I can do with a little bit more preparation, a month ahead, and really a good strength and conditioning program.
It doesn't stop evolving. It's like a living organism. It's just, everything's different. There's stages of it, the conceptual views of it. It's a beautiful art. And on top of it, you get to, you know, learn self-defense and help people.
I've been in this game for a long time, competing since 2006. Fought some of the best jiu-jitsu players that there are in the sport. I train at one of the best gyms here in Northern California. So super confident in my jiu-jitsu, my ability, and I just want to go out and represent it.
I have that normal man stuff. At times I could be godlike, so I just gotta show up. You know, my career is it's like up and down, you know, but I'm going in here to upset some people.